Hi, everybody. Today we are going to recreate some famous portraits, but with our own flair. Let's begin with the basics of drawing, and as we go along, I'll explain the process. Hopefully, it will make sense to you. We are going to take the originals and use them as references, not as images to copy. We'll make use of the structure, the architecture of the originals, but interpret them with our own personal style. This is a way of treating references as a starting point, not as something to imitate. And this is nothing new. Picasso did it, Dali did it, and many, many other artists did it too. However, the main difference between what they did and what many beginners tend to do is this. They didn't imitate the originals. They used them as inspiration and transformed them into something of their own. And this isn't done to improve upon the original, not at all. This is a way of saying, I admire this piece so much that I want to pay a homage to it, while still creating something new, even if it begins with someone else's work. That is exactly what we are going to do today. So let's start with the Mona Lisa. One useful technique to ensure that you don't lose your sketch lines is to create an underpainting. This is a very common technique in oil painting, but you can also do it with acrylics, watercolors, whatever medium you are going to be using them. Here I'm using the structure of the original, but painting it in our minimalist flat style. Playing with proportions, experimenting with colors, flattening the entire composition. This is a way of creating, not imitating. One of the things I repeat often in this channel is just that. Create, don't imitate. Because if you only train your brain to imitate, that's what you'll continue to do as an artist. Imitate. There is nothing wrong with that, of course, but I believe that you can achieve much more if you change that mindset. When you start creating, when you believe in your own voice and your own ability to make something, every reference becomes just that, a reference. But the work itself is truly yours, even if it begins with someone else's piece. That's why I don't encourage you to do the same compositions we do in our exercises. This first piece ended up with more layers than I intended, but let's see if we can simplify the next one even further, okay? The next one is the girl with the pearl earring. Once again, I'm playing with proportions, with colors, and using the original image only as a guide. The result is going to be still recognizable, but it doesn't look like an imitation. It looks like a vision, a version, an interpretation of the original. And again, I remind you, don't just copy what I'm doing. Focus on understanding the process, on seeing how approachable the materials are. Use the original images as a tool to express something that is yours, truly yours, your signature, your personality, your story, your humanity. We've been meeting here every week, and the focus is always on the process, not on duplication. It is absolutely possible to create something original even when you use someone else's work as a starting point. This applies no matter what the subject is: portraits, animals, botanicals. The takeaway from our exercises is not that you should paint the same subjects I do, or use exactly the same techniques. Okay, the takeaway is to learn how to create, even with little or no training, even if your skills are still basic, even if your experience is still raw. Everything we've done so far follows this same principle: simplify shapes, simplify colors, make things manageable, avoid trying to do too much at once. And that's how we gain confidence. And hopefully, if you've been following along, you have already started to feel that. I hope you have tried some of these exercises, not by replicating the compositions, but by using the shared knowledge to create your own. I sometimes hear comments saying that I make things look easy, but it's not that I make them easier. It's practice that does that. Okay. The reason I can work comfortably each week is not because I spent 5 years in art university. It's not that I've been working with graphics for nearly 20 years. It's not that. The reason I can work comfortably each week is simply because I practice. If you try these exercises even once a week, within just a few, you'll be surprised how far you've come simply through practice. That's also why I always create in series. Each week I aim for at least 3 paintings because practice builds confidence with the materials, with the subjects. Practice helps us handle mistakes. Practice allows us to know that if something doesn't work today, it will improve with time. And most importantly, you will start to notice patterns like, oh, this is how I use color, or this is how I compose, or this is how I draw. And in those patterns, you'll begin to recognize yourself as an artist. This doesn't mean you'll remain the same artist forever. No, not at all. It only means that you know where you are at a particular moment in time. Because before going anywhere, we must first know where we are. So the last one for today will be a Vincent. His surname is mispronounced both in Britain and in North America. So let's call him by his first name, okay? Once again, I'm not imitating his style, just as I didn't imitate Vermeer or Da Vinci's. I'm using their work simply as a starting point, as a foundation, as a reference. Here, once again, I am playing with color, proportions, and flatness. I am paying homage, but creating my own version, not attempting to emulate their style. I had actually planned 6 pieces for today, but I'm still under the weather, and you can hear by the sound of my voice that I'm still not completely recovered. So the others will have to wait for another time. But hopefully these 3 will be enough for you to understand the concept behind paying homage rather than copying or imitating. One additional thing that I cannot forget to mention is that this is far better than using a poster of a famous painting, okay? So rather than having a poster of a Mona Lisa or anything in your living room, which is always going to look cheap, it is cheap. Nobody's going to tell you, maybe you don't even know, but it is cheap. So rather than doing that, make an original out of something that you like, that it's so much richer, that has so much more character. That means I like that painting, but I cannot afford the original or anything, whatever be the reason. So I like that painting so much, I want that in my living room or in my bedroom or whatever room you're planning. This right here has so much more character than having a printed copy of any original. So, these are the results of what we've done today. I hope you've learned something new and that you now understand that you can create without imitating, even when you use someone else's work as your reference. As always, keep on practicing and thank you for joining us.